and welcome to podcast number 2, The Mind Matters with Laura K. Ellis. The topic today is going to be, who are you in relationship with? I chose this title based on the popular and sad situation that occurred with the Gabby Petito case. It's oh too familiar, and I think a lot of people that have been following the case, even globally, but also with the clients that I see, it's incredible that most individuals, whether they're in a relationship, marriage, relationship, engaged to be married, or just boyfriend and girlfriend, don't really know who they're in relationship with. And it's crucial to know the background of the individual whom you are partaking time and energy with. Years ago, I say years ago, I'm going back 20, 30, maybe beyond that, 40 years. People didn't think much about having a girlfriend or a boyfriend or getting married because the physical attraction was so strong. And we see now today, with the media as prevalent as it is, how things seem to be going haywire in regards to relationships. And that's relationships all encompassing, right? Because the world is, it seems to be at odds with itself. I know it always has been, but again, with the media giving us information left and right and up and down and all around, it's kind of difficult not to hear things. And hopefully now, with this podcast anyway, that some people who are listening to this, if not all, will be paying attention to what I'm going to say. Those of you listening to this that know me or have been clients of mine, I am a multi-certified hypnotherapist, spiritual development coach. I came on the planet with a very strong intuitive faculty. Thankfully that I did. And it's assisted me greatly over the years now, over half a century on this planet. However, today, more than ever, as I mentioned just a bit ago, people need to start paying attention to who they are interacting with and who they are in relationship with. And what I mean by that is, well, let me say this. Your subconscious mind co-created you in the womb, and it rules your life. So that being said, let's just take this as an example for a moment. Your parents or primary caretakers, but in this case we're going to be talking about genetics here. So your parents, for example, are not in a very loving, kind relationship. You're in the womb of your mother, and there's arguments going on, maybe some physical abuse, maybe some verbal abuse. Alcohol, drugs may play into this. We don't know. We're theorizing at the moment, generally speaking. But what I can tell you is, and it's proven, infants in the womb in the 3rd trimester, beginning in the 3rd trimester up to 10 years of age, There's an aspect of our mind that isn't fully developed yet. It's called the critical factor, and this critical factor is important, very important, because in that time span, third trimester to 10 years of age, everything that we are exposed to, again, even in the womb at that point in time, your unconscious mind, the subconscious, is taking all this information in, like a sponge takes in water, and it remains there forever. Even as a hypnotherapist, I know that, the memories can be, we'll just say, diffused. They'll always be there. But with hypnotherapy, there are ways, I have various techniques, and I'm sure others do too, but there are ways to, we'll just say, override that program or programming. And can be sustainable for sure. So, going back to the relationships aspect. Now we know that all information we've taken in for the better part of 10 years, your first 10 years on planet Earth, is lodged in your unconscious mind. You become the product of that environment from third trimester to 10. What does that mean in this poor Gabby Petito story? Well, obviously, young Gabby was very innocent, very sweet, very sensitive, very trusting, and not knowing what I'm sharing with you here right now. Many people don't, which is why I'm sharing it. So had she been able to pay attention, and this is true with others, many of my clients, the same situations, or similar anyway, had she had the ability and the wisdom, we'll say, or the knowledge to understand that I'm not going to trust this person or get involved with this person until I really know their background. Well, that doesn't mean do a background check, right? Well, in a way it is. You need to know who in this case, who this Brian Laundrie's parents are. Are they the biological parents? What was their relationship like when this Brian Laundrie was a little boy? Was the mother being abused? Was the father abusing her? Was there alcohol involved? Arguments? Anything that is dysfunctional. The little person, in this case we're talking right now about Brian Laundrie, their unconscious mind is taking all this information in by default. So again, we become the products of our environment. And now here's poor little Gabby, so sweet and innocent, not knowing all of this. She just thinks she's in love with this charismatic narcissist. Well, I'm sure she didn't know that about him either. So, all that aside, had she had known, she would have not partaken in the relationship with this individual, right? And countless other individuals on this planet today, I encourage you to do your homework before entering into a marriage or a relationship with anyone. Find out what their environment was like up until 10 years of age. Because rest assured, even if they're wearing a mask, that's theoretically, wearing a mask, it may take a year, it may take a few years, but inevitably that truth about them will surface. And more often than not, sadly, it's not pleasant. Now, that being said, it can also be going back to generations. So let's just say, for example, there's an individual that is seemingly psychologically healthy. And their parents, their primary caretakers growing up, were the biological parents and had a seemingly higher understanding of how to treat their own, how to treat themselves. That's a very big key also, how they treat themselves, okay? Because how they treat themselves is a big indicator as to how they're going to treat you or anyone else they're in relationship with. But again, it may not surface right away. It may take a little bit of time, okay? Get to know the individual. Really get to know the individual. But going back to generational aspects. So this individual is seemingly psychologically healthy, happy, and someone has done their homework and understood that these two people that raised this person are also psychologically healthy. Perfect. Great. This person grows up and becomes a productive, happy, healthy human being. Now, let's take another scenario into this. So there's another child born into this family, this seemingly psychologically healthy family, and appears to be a little different than the other we just mentioned, that grew up to be a very productive, happy, healthy human being. We all strive for that, right? However, this individual, this child that came forth, big age difference between the two, which really doesn't matter, but it might. So now we're looking at another individual born of this family that doesn't appear or act the way you would expect coming from two healthy-minded, happy parents that were genuinely loving and nurturing to themselves, between themselves, to the child that's grown, and now this new child. Yet this new child seems to resist things on all levels, okay? And that includes love and affection. How is that possible? Well, what happens is, generationally, these indicators of generational ties can go back generations. And they can skip a few generations. So just because the child, okay, comes through you doesn't necessarily mean they are of you. So think about that for a moment. It's actually written in the good book, which is, I use that term for the Bible, which, yes, I know there are aspects of the Bible that have been written and rewritten, and we don't know by whom, but there is still a lot of truth in that book, metaphorically. So that being said, that's possible as well. And this other child, this second child, grows up to be a very dysfunctional adult, no matter how much love you give this child, based on the DNA going back to generations. So, all of you listening here and now, get to know who you're in relationship with. Get to know on a deep level what their relationship was with their primary caretakers growing up. Again, from the womb up until 10 years of age. After 10, that aspect of mind I mentioned earlier, the critical factor, has the ability to say yes or no to information. So it can make sound judgments and judgment calls on things in their surroundings, whereas prior to, they're not able to do that. Get to know who you are in relationship with and find out about the family history. Thank you all for listening. Please like and subscribe to this channel, to this podcast. I'll be bringing more.